Tell me if this sounds familiar. You want to lose weight and you really want it to work this time. So you're tracking your food, getting your steps in, and you're even strength training 3 days a week like a champ. And as a reward for all of your hard work, your family's all, let's celebrate and eat out this weekend. But by this weekend, they don't just mean Saturday night, because every mother who's working that hard deserves Sunday brunch. Plus, who doesn't love pizza on Fridays? Since you finally feel in control, you think, it's okay, I've got this. And you try your best to be good. You skip the appetizer, pass on the fries, and you even swap your glass of wine for a Diet Coke. But once Monday morning hits, your scale, you know, that little lying gremlin who sits in ungodly stenches all day long, while sometimes even enduring droplets of pee, well, now it's time for his revenge. Because that jerk just went up 3 pounds in only 3 days. And all you could think is, excuse me? I passed on the cheesecake, Susan. What the is this? Coming from a girl who spent the last few decades working her butt off to lose 50 pounds, only to gain and lose the same 20 to 50 pounds more times than I can count, I know exactly how frustrating this is. Because back in the day, I thought one meal out wouldn't hurt. Or 2, maybe 3, or an entire weekend where I accidentally ordered dessert just to be polite. And it's not like just because I'm getting older, I'm getting any wiser either. Even though I know eating out tanks my progress, there are still weekends where I go into the weekend half a pound down after working really hard all week, only to be up 4 pounds by the time Monday morning rolls around. So in this video, I'll show you how eating out could be the silent killer of your fat loss results, even if you think you're making good choices. And don't worry, I'm not here to tell you to live like a monk who preps chicken and broccoli for every meal. But I will show you the hidden stuff that no one talks about when it comes to restaurant meals. Because if you've ever worked hard all week only to feel like you blew it after one dinner out, you're not crazy. Your scale did just shoot up 5 pounds in one weekend, and it will continue moving in that direction if you don't learn what's really going on. Because here's the thing that anyone who eats out more than once or twice a week doesn't want to admit to. Your homemade taco bowl with lean ground beef, salsa, veggies, and light sour cream, that's maybe 500 calories tops if you're being generous. But that same exact meal from your favorite Mexican spot, that easily breaks 1,000 calories. And that's only if you skip the chips, which, let's be real, no one does because chips and salsa are basically a birthright. Except for at those scam restaurants that try to charge you for a basket of chips or an extra scoop of salsa. Excuse me, sir, I just spent $8 on a taco, so of course we'll have a third basket of chips. But even if you are a better person than me, and you can avoid the chips and salsa altogether, restaurant portions are wild. Because most of these meals that you can't seem to stop eating are dripping in oils, bathed in butter, and designed to taste too good to stop eating even after you feel full. Which means you don't stop eating until you're halfway to a food coma. And the worst part about eating out? Just because the menu says grilled chicken, that doesn't even mean you're safe. Because at most restaurants, grilled still means brushed in oil, seasoned with calories, and served in portions fit for a linebacker. And even with all of that bad news, we still haven't gotten to one of the worst parts about eating too many meals out while on a diet. Because even when you order from the light and lean menu that swears everything's 500 calories or less, that's when you end up with salads with scraggly lettuce, maybe 4 croutons, 2 tomatoes, and only 12 grams of protein. Because even though your meal doesn't amount to much nutritionally, you're still getting plenty of fat calories from the dressing. Or maybe you've even wised up to these sad salad scams, so you order a wrap instead. But even that's mostly tortilla and lettuce with a sprinkle of chicken, because most restaurants apparently have to ration their protein for some sort of upcoming apocalypse. When you make that same wrap at home, it's easy to put together something that tastes amazing that also has 40 to 50 grams of protein without even batting an eye. But at a restaurant, You're lucky if you hit 20 grams, and that's before they forgot that you ordered grilled chicken instead of fried. So you either have to wait another 20 minutes or just deal with what you've got. So even though plenty of carbs and fat comes standard in meals out, getting enough of the one nutrient that actually helps you feel full while helping you keep the little muscle your body needs to hang on to if you want any semblance of an active metabolism, that's apparently optional. But let's say that this isn't your first rodeo, especially if you're anything like me and you've been around the dieting block so many times that you're starting to time your laps. That doesn't mean you won't gain a solid 4 pounds on the scale after a few days of eating out, just like I did this past weekend in Sedona. Even though I was active and vowed to make the best choices possible while on vacation, that doesn't mean those restaurant meals still aren't doing everything in their power to sabotage my progress. Anytime I eat out more than once or twice in a weekend, the scale jump alone makes me want to throw my entire plan into a dumpster and set it on fire. Because weight that comes on overnight is never just about calories, especially since eating out means way more sodium than when you cook at home. Whenever you eat more sodium, you retain more water, which always leads to you staring down your scale come Monday morning like it has some kind of personal vendetta against you. And it's sneaky because it feels like fat gain. Jeans are tighter and your face is puffier. Your fingers feel like Vienna sausages trying to squeeze into shapewear. Plus, after seeing that number, now you're cranky, bloated, and wondering if your metabolism really hates you as much as your scale keeps telling you it does. And I know I joke, but there have been mornings I've legit found myself in tears on the bathroom floor over a 4-pound spike that wasn't even real. But that doesn't mean it doesn't feel real, which is what makes this part so freaking hard. Because while it's easy to build up some sob story in your head about how your genetics suck, in reality, it's mostly water weight that will go away. Only if you don't panic and spiral into a full week of going off the rails, or go right back to eating out for every meal the very next weekend. Which leads us right into the last reason eating out too often is completely destroying your fat loss progress. And this one is a sneaky one. Because let's say you do manage to stay on track during the meal. You ordered the grilled chicken, request a side salad instead of fries, you say no to dessert. I mean, you are a freaking fat loss ninja. But if you've been busy restricting yourself at home so you actually lose weight this time, being back in that environment and seeing all of the foods that you haven't eaten in forever, it can really mess with your head. Because suddenly you're remembering that feeling you had the last time you dug into a big plate of nachos. Not that I'm full of queso and regret part, but the hedonistic, these are the best nachos I've had in my entire life part. So you start justifying a little nibble here or a splash of ranch there. And before you know it, boom! Your next few meals slowly start to look a whole lot more like the old you instead of the version you've been working so hard to become. Which is exactly what happened to me this past weekend. I ate a high-protein breakfast before leaving so I would stay on track. And for lunch, I ordered a grilled chicken sandwich, and ever the dieting martyr, I even said no thank you to the fries. But by dinner, somehow I ordered a brisket sandwich that was the size of my head, and I ate every bite. Plus, I split a slice of cheesy jalapeno cornbread with my husband because when's the next time I'd have the option to order cornbread with cheese and jalapenos? And the next day wasn't any better because by then I found myself indulging in a 3-egg omelet with cheese and bacon, followed by a stuffed steak burrito for lunch, fudge from Sedona's finest fudge factory, and even though I wasn't even hungry for dinner, I still ordered a hot dog with a small fry just in case. So even though my weight was down before my trip, let's say my scale didn't fare too well once I jumped back on it Tuesday morning. The thing is, one meal out doesn't just spike your calories, but it can also trigger your cravings. It can be the very portal you've been trying to avoid that opens the floodgates to old behaviors. And if you keep falling into the same weekend trap like even those of us who consider themselves as highly disciplined can, that's when you find yourself back on the I'll just start Monday hamster wheel faster than you can say pass the bread. All of that to say, you don't have to completely avoid eating out just because you want to lose weight, especially since spending quality time with friends and family is too important to pass up. But if fat loss is your priority, then you need to make it your priority and remind yourself that you have bigger goals than indulging in endless breadsticks. So if you're choosing between making a high healthy protein meal at home or eating out just because you don't feel like cooking, then this is your reminder that you will have to do things that you don't feel like doing, at least if you want results. But to get those results, that doesn't mean you have to force yourself into some strict diet you hate. Because I quit doing that years ago and my results have been pretty good. So if you do want to learn the exact routine I follow to lose 50 pounds, watch this video next. Because I eat delicious foods while still losing weight. You know, as long as I rein in my inner restaurant gremlin before she turns one brunch into a 3-day tour.